Right, let's move on and do a classic character profile then, shall we? This week we're going to be doing Janice Battersby. Tenuous link to why we're doing Janice Battersby. Tenuous link 1. She also found love on a Welsh camping park one time. It wasn't Les.
No, can I just say,
Craig.
Who hasn't? Everyone has.
Oh, okay. Second link, Vicky Entwistle was in Les Miserables, Les Miserables, up until earlier this year, I think, and we are going to go. Yes, we're going to go and see it tomorrow.
Damn it.
But she's not in it. I don't know when she left. Maybe it was earlier than that. But she played the innkeeper's wife, the old. Who was it? Yeah, Helena Bonham Carter's character.
Of course, made famous by Helena Bonham Carter. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to go and see it tomorrow in London. So for those two excellent reasons, we're doing Janice Battersby as our classic character profile. Hit me with some stats, Gemma.
Well, she was born on the 17th of June in 1965, and she's got a sister called Janet Leigh.
Hang on, Janet and Janice?
Well,
why not?
You wrote it.
I think that...
I claim no knowledge of the siblings of Coronation Street characters, especially ones that aren't in it anymore.
Okay.
She married Les Battersby in 1994 and had daughter, number 1, Toya Battersby, 1982. And I think you've forgotten somebody.
I haven't forgotten. Well, no, Leanne, she's not her daughter, is she? She's her stepdaughter. I can't remember when she was born.
You don't have a category for stepdaughters, which I think is frightful.
Sorry, I usually do put that in. Move on.
First appearance, 6th January 1997. Last appearance, 25th March 2011. Number of appearances, 1,553. But she'll always be in our heart. She's the 31st most commonly featured character played by Vicky Entwistle. And although I made it sound like Vicky Entwistle plays all the characters, that was just me running on my sentence.
You should have put a pause for breath.
Well, I don't work on a radio, I work on a podcast, so it's lower standards.
Okay, so Janice was with the other Battersbys, introduced us one of the family from hell. She was the loud
That's just a polite way of saying they're a bunch of chavs.
Yeah, but I was surprised when I did the research for this, because everybody, when they show the Battersbys coming into the street, they always show the scene from July in 1997 where Toya and Leanne are pushing the shopping trolley with the stuff they've nicked.
Burned into my memory.
Blah, 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 blah. But that wasn't Janice's first appearance in it. She'd been in it like 6 months before, and I had completely forgotten about all of this. She was a factory girl, and she had a few little storylines before everyone came in, and blow me down with the fact that I did not remember that.
I can't believe you would forget such a thing.
I know, I'll never forget it now, though. So she was originally credited under her maiden name of Janice Leigh. I think there was a bit of plot inconsistency, because some places say that she was married to Les in 1994, but when she was first in it in the beginning of 97, she was Janet Leigh, but by the time she came back in it in July, she was Janice Battersby.
I think you'll find you've made an error in the character of Janice Battersby that needs to be addressed.
Exactly.
Before we can move forward with any more new plots.
Yeah, exactly. Never mind Kevin forgetting about his baby. This is
far more important.
Worse, isn't it? So it was after Don burned down Mike's factory that Janice first appeared. So she and Ida Clough, were employed in the newly rebuilt Underworld by Angie Freeman, who was the one that opened it with Mike back then. So she got a warning after she was caught stealing reject knickers. So right from the start, she's a wrong 'un. She's a wrong 'un.
She's only a minor wrong 'un, though. She
Yes.
didn't murder anybody. She moved into the council house number 5, Coronation Street, along with her daughter Toya, her husband Les, and his daughter Leanne. And everyone hates them. Janice tries to be nice. She appears to be the most reasonable one of the bunch, which is hilarious, considering that she remains still, to this day, you would think, a bit of a loudmouth.
She is. She was still she was called Lippy in the factory, but by Danny Baldwin, wasn't she? But I think compared to the rest of the Battersbys, she was the one that would try and be reasonable more than the others. Because Les, within the first week, had headbutted Curly, and Toya and Leanne had been smoking and stealing things. And I think Janice was. I suppose there has to be someone that's relatable to, in a way.
I know, but I still can't believe it was ever Janice.
Well, who would you have said?
Well, Leanne, because Leanne's so boring now.
No, don't start this again. No, Leanne was a right little teenager.
I know she was, a right little strumpet.
Yeah, she was back then.
Then she became a professional strumpet, and now she's just dull.
Moving on. So, 1998. She panicked because Les's son Greg Kelly turned up. She thought that Les would leave her for Greg's mum Moira, who was really rich. And Les did indeed start wooing Maria but he was Moira, sorry, yes, but he was rejected. But Janice still found out anyway, and threw him out when she did. So he ended up living on the street in a camper van. And I remember this scene when he tried to get her back, because he gave her this romantic serenading from his camper van, I think, on the street. And they got back together, which was nice, because I always liked them as a couple, and I was very sad when they split up. What happened in 1999, Gemma?
Well, she discovered that Les was going to take Jackie Dobbs to Las Vegas because he got some compo money when he went to the hospital after he was apparently given an overdose. So she tells the hospital the secret that Les actually stole these extra pills they thought he had taken.
Yeah, because he ended up in hospital because he'd been stealing cobbles off the street, I think, because I think he thought they were worth something.
It's very dangerous.
Got one on his
to
toe,
do, yeah.
And then while he was in hospital and Martin Platt's back was turned, he took some pills, had an overdose. But yeah, Janice was the one that blabbed on him.
Yeah.
Because he was going off with Jackie.
Yeah. But Jackie leaves the street anyway, so no need to worry about her anymore.
I think this is another thing that made us feel sorry for Janice a little bit more in the olden days, that already within the first sort of year and a bit of turning up, the Des had already had his eye turned by all these other women.
It's just how it goes, isn't it? On the street. Life on the street's harsh.
Yeah.
She gets annoyed with Les because he spends money for electricity on beer.
That sounds like a Jack Duckworth kind of thing too,
It does.
doesn't it?
I keep thinking all the way through this. Yeah.
And here is our link to this week's Coronation Street. Later in 1999, in the summer, she went to Wales with the family on a camping holiday. It was a caravanning one, I think. And she was
caravanning,
all the same. And she got some attention by a younger man there, and he, I think he was called Owen. He tried to persuade
sexy name.
Yeah, I know. He tried to persuade Janice to leave Les and run away with him, but she eventually decided to stay with her husband because she's a good one at heart.
She probably had a good scrutinisation of his bank account and realised there was no point.
Well, compared to Les, I think anybody's bank account would look rosy compared to him.
Even yours. 2001, the Battersby take in Dennis Stringer as a lodger because Les met him when he was doing community service. For some reason.
He was also doing community service.
No, I know, but why was Les doing it?
I can't remember.
It's not part of Janice's story,
exactly.
So don't ask
it's irrelevant.
questions.
Listen to the Les Battersby character
if you're that
if you
interested.
want to know.
Dennis initially starts seeing Eileen Grimshaw, but he and Janice begin an affair.
So this is the first time I think that Janice had properly strayed. She found Owen on holiday, but yeah, she started having an affair with Dennis because Les was just such a... I couldn't have been very nice to be a husband to be honest.
I mean, it gets pretty bleak because Les finds out and he tries to kill himself, and then Dennis dies in a car accident rushing into hospital.
Yeah, Dennis was like an ex-Hell's Angel, but he fell on hard times and he had to sell his motorbike, I think, so they kicked him out. And he was this like lovable, big kind of giant of a man, and he was so nice and sweet and like everything that Les wasn't really. And he and Eileen, I thought, worked really well together. But then even him and Janice, fine.
Eileen is one of those rare characters who seems to get on really well with almost anyone you chuck her together with.
Yeah, but doesn't stay with them.
But it never sticks, does it?
Yeah, it's because she's matey with him, isn't she?
Yeah.
I think she was matey with Dennis
she's just
as
got
well.
Natural charisma.
But it was pretty tragic when he died because I like that character, and he was only in it for like a year and a half or so, and then he found Les. I think Les had tried to gas himself in his car, the carbon monoxide thing. And then he rushed Les to the hospital, fell down a hill, I think, and died. So that was very tragic. Off screen, this is quite funny as well that year, Vicky Entwistle was arrested because she had allegedly headbutted a fan, although it turned out that she was just kind of going in for a hug, and because Vicky is so small and there was some kind of height difficulty between her and the fan, and I'm just
trying to imagine the situation in which
I'm trying
that
to
could happen, and it gets so badly misconstrued that it turns into you were trying to headbutt me, and I wonder what really happens.
I know. But that could be a storyline in the soap itself, couldn't it?
It could a bit.
2002, she had dinner with Mick, the police officer, Mick Hopgood, because he accidentally hit her with his car. Les was horrified to see his estranged wife out with a policeman. So it's going from criminal to lawman.
Lawman?
Yes.
2003, that's when Mick moved in with Janice. In March, Les carried on harassing him, and then Mick got annoyed and kneed him in the groin.
Yeah, and
had a fight.
Yeah, Les had been harassing Mick for ages just because he didn't like the fact that
He's a
Yeah,
copper.
he was a copper going out with Janice. So they got into a fight, and Les was ended up sentenced to 6 months in prison and Janice was led to believe that Les had started it. Everybody thought that Les had started it, apart from Mick, obviously, and Emma, Curly's wife Emma, because she'd been there at the time. So I think she had to keep it a secret as well. So Les was then sent to jail for a bit. And then when he came out, he wanted revenge. He had the thirst for it. He broke into Janice and Mick's house, and then the truth eventually came out. Mick was caught, so he panicked and he proposed to Janice straight away to try and get her to go on his good side, because Janice was horrified that she'd been lied to all this time. But she turned him down, told him the relationship was over, and that was the end of Janice and Mick. And I remember not being too bothered about that because I wasn't really into Mick particularly, and I just wanted her and Les to get back together.
Something tells me he wasn't your type. Mick.
No, he's not my type.
2004, she divorced Les, and then she accidentally started a fire in the factory when she dropped a cigarette in the storeroom. Wouldn't happen these days. You're not allowed to smoke anywhere.
No.
Anywhere in the world.
I'm sure. I don't think she was probably allowed to smoke in the storeroom.
Probably
to be honest.
not. No. Fortunately, Nick comes to her rescue.
Hooray!
Huzzah! In 2005, this is probably the bleakest moment of her life.
This is funny.
No, this is sad. This is a sad day. She discovered that she had caught nits from Sophie Webster.
And she had to have her head shaved. I think good on you, Vicky Entwistle, for going through that. I assume that she was asked to do it, and she didn't just decide to shave her head.
She turned up one day and they went, "Oh, god damn it!
Right, stick a wig on, and we're gonna have to make you have nits." Yeah, no, she had her head shaved off, and
shaved off.
So, you know what I mean? Hair shaved off.
Hold still, Vicky.
And if she didn't look scary beforehand, because she quite a tough kind of character, wasn't she? She looked like a proper skinhead then.
If any woman is ever under any disillusionment that you are attractive in any way, just simply shave your hair off and you will know straight away that you look like some kind of bald.
She looked a bit Shrek-like after this. But I'm sure she would agree. It was all fun.
All for fun and laugh.
Janice got into a fight with Claire later on that year as well. It was when Claire was doing the Greening Up Britain storyline. She was picking litter up on the red wreck, and Janice threw some rubbish. They got into a mud fight, and Janice looked even more Shrek-like after that, all covered in mud. Very funny. Claire had called her pug-faced scumbag. Harsh.
It's fair.
No.
It's harsh, but fair.
Don't call people that.
Oh, sorry.
2006. Oh, this is a big year for Janet. Look, got loads of notes for this. She was involved in a car accident because she crashed into the Platts front wall. A feud then developed between Janice and Sally because Kevin hadn't checked the brakes on the car. Although, to be fair to him, I think Danny Baldwin had told Kevin to just do a quick once over on the car, so it wasn't really Kevin's fault.
Not his fault.
But I always remember the feud between Janice and Sally, and I suppose that must have been where it started with, because of them both working in the factory together. Janice always thought that Sally looked down her nose at her, didn't she?
I don't know why you would say that about Sally.
Yes, that is what the kind of thing that Sally would do.
Sally doesn't get on with someone at work again.
And looks
it's
down
totally out of character.
Down her nose at her. Yes, that's what happened. So the rivalry between the pair eventually led to Janice being fired from the factory. And Janice was always one for going out on strike to complain about this and that, and she tried to rally the girls around to strike for her, but they didn't. So then Janice went and had a drunken night with Les, final scrap with Sally, and then left Weatherfield in disgrace. And that's what people thought would be the end of Janice for a short while, because Vicky Entwistle had been axed by Tony Wood, who was the producer at the time. But a new producer came in called Steve Frost. He saw the potentials, that there's still many storylines left for Janice, and he asked her to stay. So she was away for about a month or so, and then carried on as if nothing had happened. So that's good. She came back after a month. She'd been supposedly staying with Toya away somewhere, and then she stayed and moved in with Leanne. And then later on that year, she had a story where she was involved with Leanne blackmailing Danny Baldwin, who was Leanne's ex-boyfriend, because she'd found a version of Mike Baldwin's will. Because the original will had left everything to Danny, but they found an updated one that left things to Adam Baldwin instead. So Janice kind of was involved in a bit of skullduggery and bringing the true will to light, just to get her own back on Danny.
In 2007, she started seeing Roger, and I remember him.
I can't remember what he looks like. I think Janice had a bit of a string of pretty rubbish boyfriends, to be honest.
Very similar looking.
Yeah, not very memorable, because there was that bin man, Trevor, that she ended up going off with in the end,
Roger.
didn't he? But Dennis was the only one I remember. None of them compared to Les.
The pair headed off to France for a few months, and she came back and she was shocked.
As were we all.
Leanne was a massive prostitute.
Didn't have to say massive one.
She tried to make Leanne give up the game.
even though it's very lucrative.
It was good money. And Roger then used his own rent money to help Leanne open up a restaurant, meaning that he had to move in with Janice.
Yeah. So and what did Leanne do in repayment for this? Well, the next year she burned down her restaurant for the insurance money. So in Janice and
Leanne is such a lovely person, and everyone should give her more of a chance.
So in September that year, Leanne persuaded Janice to keep stum because Janice had found out that the factory girls had won some money in the lottery syndicate. They'd won £25,000 in total. And honest Janice, was gonna share all the money out, but Leanne's like, hey, you know what, we should keep it for ourselves.
You know how many guys you have to sleep with to get 25 grand?
So Janice, so they were doing that, and then Janice eventually came clean, and she was arrested. She was the one that came clean about it. She didn't drop Leanne in it, and she was also dumped by Roger at the time as well. So Janice promised to keep Leanne's name out of it. She was sentenced to community service at Weatherfield General. Now there she worked under the supervision of Emily Bishop in the shop and everything. And Janice thought that it'd be like a nice easy life working with nice old Emily as your boss, but it turned out that Emily is a real slave driver. Exactly. But while she was there, she met another man. She's more Old
Testament than New Testament, really.
She is. She met another man called Mike Scott, who was in there for a chest infection. Now he is memorable to us.
He is very memorable.
Even though he was only in about 2 episodes.
I love Mike.
Thanks to Harry Hill's TV buff, Mike is memorable because he had a very memorable death. Gemma, tell us.
Well, he just died of a heart attack in various stages that took him closer and closer to the floor, and contorted his face into various interesting expressions, which I don't think is what generally happens.
I've never seen anyone have a heart attack, but I think that Mike kind of played it for laughs a bit.
Well, the thing is, you normally some people don't even know they're having them. You knew something was going on with Mike.
And they just showed the clip on Harry Hill, didn't they? Which is like, if you don't know, it was like a roundup of funny clips on the TV during the week.
Yeah.
And then as the weeks went on, they kept hiring this actor back to turn up in other sketches, didn't they?
Suddenly have a heart attack. He was like,
so funny. Why not? Moment of fame.
Exactly. Wouldn't have remembered him otherwise, would we?
Janice had a chance of love snatched from underneath her again, but it did spur her on to wanting to become a nurse. So she was sent on a first aid course in the factory because for some reason they took her back at the factory. I can't remember why. And then she just turned against the idea. She changed her mind off because it was a bit of a responsibility. She saved Joshua Peacock once, and he nearly died swallowing a bee, and she thought, oh, I had this boy's life in my hands, I can't cope with the responsibility, so she gave up. So I don't know, did she last longer at that than old Katie Armstrong did?
I know, what a blimmin'.
I think she probably did.
Is the one thing I learned from Coronation Street is that university and becoming a nurse are really, really hard.
Yes.
Just don't give up.
Yes.
2010, local bin man Trevor Dean caught her eye, but he started dating Carla for some reason.
Yeah.
And then when this tram crash happened, she uses her first aid skills to save everyone from eating bees.
Good on you, Jan. No, what? There weren't any bees on the tram crash.
Well, that's the first aid she knows.
She had other skills as well. 2011, Janice's final year on the street. I didn't like this. There was the burglar in her house, in her flat, and then she was knocked to the ground. Then she became a bit of a recluse, and she was nervous of living alone. Maybe that's the opposite of a recluse. I don't know. She wanted somebody to live with her. And she came a bit, for somebody that's so hard as nails as Janice. I was surprised how kind of timid and, well, not cowardly. I mean, she had a horrible experience, but I didn't like how they went there with that. Anyway, she moved in with Julie Carp then. She was then sacked later on in the year by Carla because she tried to convince her colleagues to go on strike during a difficult time at the factory. Trevor then returned later on in the year and convinced Janice to go on a world trip with him. And that was the end of Janice. On the way out, they drove through a puddle, drenching the factory girls, and Janice shouted out "losers" as they left. So that was the end of Janice.
Very much in the style of Gloria and what's his face.
It was very much in the style, except it probably didn't make me quite so mad. And it was in the style of Janice as well to go off call the people losers. Although I suppose it left you with a bit of a bad taste in your mouth with her. And that was the last we saw of her. Although later on that year we did hear from her. Leanne got a phone call from Janice, and apparently she was last seen working in a hotel in France. But what Leanne didn't tell her is that she had been reunited recently with her birth mother, Stella Price. talking of forgettable characters, actually Stella wasn't forgettable, was she? She's just you wish you could forget her in many ways. And that is the end of the saga of Janice Battersby. We seem to have rushed through that for quite an important character. Did you like Janice?
Yeah, I did, but I don't remember her being like, we've just talked about her at all.
What do you remember of her?
I just remember her being a bit more loudmouthy, cheeky.
Yeah, there was quite a few stories there that we mentioned that I had forgotten before I went and did some research of it. But I can almost like imagine her coming back and being like an Ina Sharples kind of character, like give her 10, 20 years or so. There's, as long as like Leanne's in Coronation Street, there's always going to be a place for Janice to come back, and she was a proper potential battle axe, wasn't she?
I really want Janice to come back and just snap Leanne out of it and make her interesting again. I think this would be the only way, as far as I'm concerned, to save Leanne. I think she'll bring her out of herself. She'll make her realise that she's just putting on this po-faced act.
She's a Battersby at heart.
Yeah, exactly. Get her like her balls back.
I mean, I'm warming to Leanne a lot more now, as you know. But I would like Leanne to be able to have storylines with someone else that isn't like Nick and Carla and that lot, and bringing Janice back in along with Toya, moving her away to do something else. I would certainly be for that. And I just think that Coronation Street is lacking a Janice loudmouth kind of character at the moment, isn't it?
Seems to be, yeah.
By the way, if anyone's hearing any kind of scratching noises around, our cat is going a bit mad and just scratching everything at the moment, so apologies for that. At least Janice is still mentioned from time to time, so there's always the potential to bring her back in. Like it was last week or something, Leanne had said something about her, didn't she? And a couple of years ago, or last year, Leanne went and visited her because Janice had sprained her ankle, because she's living in Liverpool at the moment with Toya, and I don't know if there's any mention of Roger, whether he's still on the scene or anything, but the fact that Janice and Toya are living together, I mean, it is perfect for a Battersby comeback and reunion, really. So there's a bit of a sad story for why she left. She decided to resign in the end because her husband Andrew, Vicky's husband Andrew, had assaulted a fan. There's somebody who came up asking for an autograph from Vicky, and he assaulted him in some way. Apparently the fan had a menacing manner, but the husband was found guilty and fined £1,250 plus compensation. And on the matter, Vicky said, "I'm more than aware that my character is quite controversial. In a way it's flattering that people believe it, but due to this I've had a lot of emotion. In the past 14 years I've become a dab hand at dealing with it. This particular incident I find to have been extraordinary. I've decided to resign from my job because I want some form of privacy and normality. I enjoy the work, but the enormity of that programme is too big for me now. We live in a rural area and this programme is such a huge machine, I just feel swallowed by it." So it was a bit of a sad way to go, that she felt forced out because it was too big for her.
Well, she said, I really enjoyed Janice, I love her, but I'm not going to miss her. It's a long 12-hour days of filming and there's nothing remotely glamorous about that. Plus I felt after 14 years it was time I left and put into practice more of what I'd learned at drama school. I have no regrets about saying goodbye to Janice. I don't miss her. Maybe after I've proved I'm actually an actress and not Janice, I may go back. Never say never.
It seems like quite...
It seems like she had a bit of a sour taste in her mouth. Yeah,
because quite often people say, "Oh, I've loved it, I'm going to miss her, but I need to move on and everything," and she's like...
No, bye.
Cutting loose, isn't she?
Yep.
But like she said, never say never about coming back. But I suppose if something like that happening with your husband has made you leave, then no wonder you're going to have a bit of a
Well, it's not like it's
going to
get any better now, is it? I mean, celebrity culture has just got completely mental in the past few years because of social media, and people probably feel even more entitled to harass and approach
online,
people and demand interviews via Skype for their podcast and things like that.
Well, there were still rumours that she was going to come back. Like last year, there were rumours that Stuart Blackburn was going to bring her back because he'd been teasing, "Oh, I'm going to bring somebody back," and I think probably that was when he was talking about Scylla coming back, but people for some reason thought it was Janice. I know there's often
very much confusion
between the two. But yeah, a spokesperson said there are absolutely no plans for Janice to return at the moment.
That probably means they asked her and she said no.
Well, I think that was when she was probably still working in Les Mis as well, wasn't she? So she probably couldn't have left for that. But Jane Danson is trying to reunite the Battersbys. She recently said it's her kind of mission to reunite the Battersby family.
See, I like Jane Danson. I think she's cool.
Just don't like the character.
I just hate Leanne. And she's not a real person, so it's fine.
I think I support Jane in that mission to bring
I agree.
back
I
together.
think that's the only way to save Leanne, in my opinion.
Yeah, bring back the Battersbys. So Vicky Entwistle doesn't watch Coronation Street anymore.
Neither do I.
You just make it up as you go along, don't you? She's friends with the cast, but she says you kind of move on. You can't ever watch it as a viewer because you've seen it on the other side. It's not got the same charm because you know everybody. That's interesting. It makes me wonder how many ex-cast do carry on watching.
I bet a lot of the current cast don't watch it, honestly.
I bet they don't as well, actually.
Why would they?
I bet a lot of them, I mean, we know that Sal watches it, doesn't she? Although I don't know how much she watched in between now when she came back. It must be difficult.
I have to say, if I was involved in making it, I wouldn't watch it either. It's Busman's Holiday. Why would you? You know, all you're going to do is sit there and go, oh no, that scene, I feel like I didn't do that right, or oh, I look stupid there, or.
I wonder if it's got anything to do with like what age you were when you first joined it, because it's kind of like your family, isn't it? If you've been in it since you were little, then you kind of want to know how your family's getting on. Like say Sam Ashton left or something, he'd want to know what was going on with Fizz and everybody because he's been in it for so long. Or David.
What the sister's doing?
Exactly. But whereas Janice, I think the actress was 28 when she came in as Janice. I suppose that's just a segment of your life, isn't it?
She just drew a line down, I think, and said no more.
I'm going to prove myself as a proper actress, like lots of ex-Corrie people have done.
Done lots of stage work, pantos.
Yeah, not just panto, she has done some proper stage work as well.
Panto is a time-honoured tradition.
Yes, I know.
Award-winning Fanny Peculiar, which starred Graham.
Yeah, Graham. Craig Gazy was also in that. And I think the biggest thing that she was in there was Les Mis.
Celebrity Big Brother.
That was good. When was that?
2013.
2013 she was in that. I can't remember whether I enjoyed her in that or not, but I was, because she was in it with Bruce, wasn't she? So it was like a Les and Janice reunion, which was nice. But yeah, it's good to see that she's been able to carry on. I think she got paid loads more than him to be on it as well, than Bruce Jones. So that is Janice Battersby. Definitely a memorable character. Proper kind of Corrie, bolshy, battle axe kind of woman, and lots of good scenes, lots of good stories, and I would accept her back as a heartbeat. So if any listeners have got anything they'd like to say about Janice, any fond memories, do write in and let us know.